In an abandoned mountain house, a solitary woman found a young girl, and beside her lay an injured wolf, guarding the child with its last strength. It seemed like a simple rescue story, but when the truth surfaced about whose daughter she really was, everything spiraled far beyond her control. The abandoned house sat crooked on the edge of the ridge, half swallowed by snow, half consumed by time. She'd passed it 100 times before on her supply runs to the valley, always telling herself she'd check it one day. But today, the faint trail of footprints, small, uneven, desperately recent, pulled her off the road and straight toward its sagging porch. The wind moaned through the broken shutters as she pushed the door open with her shoulder. The smell hit first. Cold dust, old wood, and something faintly metallic. Then her flashlight swept across the floor, catching a shape in the corner. A girl, curled up beneath a threadbare blanket, hair tangled, face pale with exhaustion. She looked no older than 7. But what made the woman freeze, what made her breath knot in her throat, was the massive gray wolf lying beside the child. The animal's thick fur was matted with blood, one flank rising and falling shallowly, one golden eye half open, fixed on her with a blend of pain and warning. Instinct snapped through her spine. She didn't move, didn't speak. Just let the beam of her flashlight settle on the creature's wound, deep, jagged, likely from a trap. The wolf lifted its head, just barely, not in aggression, in exhaustion. And yet, despite the weakness dragging its limbs toward the floor, it shifted its body protectively over the sleeping girl. A low, rumbling growl vibrated through its chest, not threatening, but a warning carved from instinct. Do not touch her. The woman slowly lowered her flashlight, palms open, posture soft. Easy, she whispered. I'm not here to hurt either of you. The girl stirred, mumbling something incoherent, tiny fingers curling into the wolf's thick fur. The sight hit the woman with unexpected force. Wildness and innocence fused together. She crouched, careful to keep her movements measured, eyes flicking between the girl's fragile breaths and the wolf's bleeding side. The wound was bad. Too bad to ignore, too bad to leave untreated. Wolves didn't survive injuries like that without help. But taking the animal from the girl would be like pulling the moon from the sky. She eased her pack onto the floor, letting the zipper sound softly. The wolf's ear twitched at the noise, muscles tightening. I'm just getting bandages, she murmured. Nothing else. The wolf's gaze stayed locked on her, unblinking, evaluating her intention. When she reached for her medical kit, the girl finally woke. Her eyes fluttered open, large, dark, confused, and immediately filled with fear. Don't hurt him, she cried, sitting up so fast she made the wolf whine from the sudden movement. The woman lifted both hands in a gesture of peace. I'm not, she said softly. I just want to help. The girl clung to the wolf's fur, burying her face in it as if the animal were the one protecting her, not the other way around. He saved me, she whispered, voice trembling. Please don't take him away. The woman moved closer, but she kept her posture low and unthreatening. What's your name? She asked. The girl hesitated, eyes darting between her and the wolf. Lena. The name felt too small for the fear behind it. Okay, Lena, the woman said gently. I'm a friend. I live nearby. I can help him, but I need you to trust me. Lena looked down at the wolf, brushing her tiny hand over its muzzle. He followed me when I ran, she whispered, and then he got hurt, trying to protect me. Her voice cracked on the last word. Ran from what? The woman asked. though she already sensed the answer wouldn't be simple. Lena opened her mouth, but before she could speak, the wolf's body tensed sharply. Its ears pricked toward the doorway. A growl rippled through its throat, deeper than before. The woman froze. Then she heard it too. The faint crunch of snow outside. Not wind, not settling ice. Footsteps, slow, heavy, measured. Someone was approaching the house. Lena's eyes widened with terror, so raw it electrified the air. She clutched the wolf tighter. "Please don't let him find me," she whispered. The woman's pulse spiked. She rose to her feet silently, grabbing her pack and moving to the window. Through the frost-coated glass, she saw a shadow moving between the trees, a large silhouette, purposeful, not lost, not searching randomly, tracking. Cold recognition coiled in her stomach. Whoever that was, Lena knew him. She closed the curtains quickly, extinguished her flashlight, and returned to the girl. "We have to move," she whispered. "Now!" Lena shook her head violently, tears brimming. "He'll take me back. Please don't let him." The wolf growled louder, forcing itself upright despite the pain. The woman's voice dropped to a whisper threaded with urgency. "Lena, listen. I can keep you safe, but we cannot stay here." She reached out her hand. The girl stared at it, small fingers trembling. Outside, the footsteps paused, then shifted direction, coming closer to the broken wall. Snow crunched again, this time directly beside the porch. The wolf forced itself to stand fully, swaying, but placing its body between the girl and the door. Even on the brink of collapse, it was ready to fight. The woman felt something tighten in her chest, respect, awe, fear, all merging into one. She scooped Lena into her arms, the girl instinctively clinging to her neck. "Stay close," she whispered to the wolf. "If you can walk, follow us." The wolf limped after them, each step labored but determined. They slipped through the back exit, a narrow door half buried in snow. The woman eased it open, wincing as the wood groaned loudly in the silence. For a moment, the world beyond was nothing but shadowed pines and swirling flakes. They stepped into the storm's embrace, and she pulled the girl against her chest, shielding her from the biting wind. The wolf hobbled behind, leaving a thin trail of blood. Every sound felt amplified. Every tree looked as though it might hide a figure. The woman moved swiftly but silently, navigating the slope with the ease of someone who knew the mountain's bones by heart. She kept her eyes everywhere, scanning the trees, the path, the snow behind them. Lena's breath came in tiny gasps against her scarf. The wolf stumbled once, but steadied itself with a quiet whine. "Just a little farther," the woman murmured. "My cabin's close." She didn't dare look back, but she felt the weight of pursuit pressing against her spine like an invisible hand. By the time the cabin came into view, the sky had darkened to a muted slate blue, the storm thickening with every passing second. The woman kicked snow away from the door and rushed inside, setting Lena near the fire pit. She turned immediately to the wolf, helping it collapse onto a blanket. The animal let out a sound between pain and relief. Lena rushed to its side, hands shaking as she stroked its fur. "You're safe now," the woman whispered, though she wasn't sure if she was speaking to the wolf, or the girl, or herself. The footsteps still echoed in her memory. She cleaned the wolf's wound carefully, working with practiced precision. The injury was deep, but treatable. The wolf watched her every movement, eyes sharp even through the haze of pain. "You're stronger than you look," she murmured. Lena sat beside them, hugging her knees, refusing to look away. "He saved me from him," she said quietly. "From my father." The word hit the woman like a thrown stone. She glanced up, Lena's face had gone pale again. "Your father is the one looking for you?" The girl nodded slowly. The wolf growled at the mention of the man. "What happened?" the woman asked gently. Lena swallowed hard. "He said we had to leave the valley, that someone was coming for us. He got angry when I asked why. I tried to run. He grabbed me. The wolf came out of the woods and scared him. Then he hurt the wolf with something metal, like a trap. But the wolf still made sure I got away." Tears streamed down her cheeks. The woman placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. The story felt wrong, too jagged, too incomplete. A father chasing a child into a storm. Something deeper lurked beneath the words. She stepped to the window, peeling the curtain just enough to see the tree line. Darkness gathered heavily between the pines. Nothing moved, but the silence felt watchful, predatory. The woman tightened her jaw. "Your father," she said carefully. "Does he know where I live?" Lena hesitated. "He knows the mountain, paths, all of them. He used to take me on hikes. He said it was important to know where to hide if something went wrong." The woman felt a cold ripple slide down her spine. People who talked like that didn't fear nature. They feared other people. She secured the windows, checking each latch twice. The storm was picking up again, wind rattling the shutters with restless fingers. The wolf lifted its head, nostrils flaring. It sniffed the air, then let out a low growl, not of pain, but warning. The woman froze. "Is he close?" she whispered. The wolf's gaze sharpened, fixed on the door. Lena clung to its fur, trembling. Outside, the wind shifted direction, carrying with it a faint, almost imperceptible crunch of snow. Someone was moving through the storm. Deliberate, slow, searching. The woman's heart hammered in her ribs. She grabbed her old hunting rifle from the mantel and checked the chamber. Loaded. She didn't want to use it, not with a child watching, not unless she had no choice. But surviving the mountains meant being ready for the worst. She positioned herself near the door, breath shallow. "Lena," she whispered, "stay behind the wolf. Don't move unless I tell you." The girl obeyed instantly. The wolf dragged itself into a protective stance, teeth bared despite its injury. The woman felt a surge of admiration, wounded, freezing, nearly starved, yet still ready to defend a child not its own. The footsteps grew louder, snow shifting, branches cracking. Whoever was out there wasn't trying to be silent, or they didn't care if she heard. That was worse, far worse. The woman lifted the rifle to her shoulder, steadying her breath the way her father taught her years ago. A shadow passed the window, then another, closer. She felt Lena's fear radiating behind her like heat. She kept her voice low and calm. "It's okay," she said softly. "He won't get near you." The wolf's growl rumbled like distant thunder, every hair along its spine raised. A hard knock slammed against the door, making Lena gasp. The woman didn't move, didn't speak. The second knock came slower, heavier, like a warning. "I know you're in there." Then a voice, low, familiar, terrifying in its calmness. "Lena," the man called. "Open the door. Now." The girl whimpered, hiding her face against the wolf's side. The woman narrowed her eyes, tightening her grip on the rifle. The man on the porch exhaled sharply. "I know she's with you," he said, "and I know what you think this looks like, but you have no idea what's coming." She felt the truth in his tone, not a threat, but something heavier, something hollowed by desperation. Still, she didn't move. The wolf growled louder, and the girl clung to it with trembling hands. "You're scared of the wrong thing," the man continued through the door. "If you don't let me in, the storm won't be the worst of it. Someone else is looking for her. Someone who won't knock first. The woman's pulse pounded in her ears. She wasn't sure what terrified her more, his words or the certainty in them. When night fell over the mountains, the cabin seemed even smaller, squeezed between ridges like a secret nature never meant to reveal. Mara kept the girl wrapped in blankets near the fire, watching her eyelids flicker with restless dreams. The wolf lay curled nearby, chest rising unevenly, every breath a quiet battle. The storm outside clawed at the windows like something hungry. Mara couldn't shake the feeling that the mountains weren't simply cold. They were listening. She kept replaying the man's photograph in her head, the one she had quietly slipped into her pocket before the wind could steal it. The man's face haunted her, weathered, scarred, one eye slightly darker than the other, like a shadow lived behind it. She couldn't tell if he was soldier, hunter, or outlaw. But the way the girl whispered her father's name in her fevered sleep told Mara the truth that mattered. The child loved him deeply. Children don't lie about love. And yet the wolf had nearly died protecting her from something human, something that might be looking for her still. Mara didn't know whether to bar the door or prepare to open it. The girl woke slowly, as if surfacing through deep water. Her small fingers clutched the blanket. Her eyes darted to the wolf instantly. Relief softened her tiny features. "Shadow," she whispered, and the wolf raised his head just enough to acknowledge her. Mara knelt beside her. "What happened out there, sweetheart?" The girl didn't speak for a long moment. Then she pointed to the window. "They're coming." Her voice trembled, not from cold, but memory. Mara felt a coldness that had nothing to do with winter settle in her bones. Outside, wind shoved against the walls with a low howl, but beneath it she heard something else, a distant hum, mechanical, foreign to these mountains. Mara extinguished the lantern instantly. Darkness rushed into the room like a wave. She motioned the girl close, and the wolf shifted, forcing himself upright despite the pain. Mara felt a strange trust forming between her and the animal, something unspoken but unmistakable. Shadows danced faintly as moonlight leaked through cracks in the shutters. "Who's coming?" Mara whispered. The girl swallowed. "My dad's men." Mara stiffened. Men. Not rescuers, not authorities. Men. That word alone carried a warning. She imagined rough voices, heavy boots, the kind of command you don't disobey. "Why would your father send men after you?" she asked. The girl hugged her knees to her chest. "Because I ran away. Because he wouldn't let us leave." "Us?" Mara pressed. The little voice shook. "Me? My mom?" That was when Mara felt something inside her crack open, a familiar ache she thought mountain silence had long buried. She'd seen that fear before, in her own childhood, in the mirror. The hum grew louder. Snow crunched outside. Mara peeked through a narrow gap in the boards, breath held. A single snowmobile light sliced through the darkness like a blade, illuminating trees in short, violent flashes. Then a second, then a third. Men dismounted, silhouettes thick with winter gear and weapons slung across their backs. Not hunters, not search parties, trained, determined. She recognized the posture instantly, the stance of men who would not return empty-handed. She silently cursed whatever life had brought this girl to her doorstep, but she knew something with absolute clarity. They would not take her tonight. Mara moved quickly. The cabin had few hiding places, but years of storms and solitude had taught her survival. She guided the girl into the crawl space beneath the floorboards. Stay silent, no matter what. The wolf limped toward the hatch, refusing to leave the child's side. Mara hesitated only a moment before lifting it wider. "Fine," she whispered. "Just don't die on me." The wolf descended beside the girl, curling protectively around her like a living shield. Mara sealed the hatch and shoved a rug over it just as the first fist slammed into the door. The doorframe shook. Mara grabbed her old hunting rifle, not loaded, not even fired in years, but it looked convincing enough. She positioned herself behind the kitchen counter, breath steady. The second blow splintered wood. A third threatened to tear it off its hinges. "Open up!" a voice barked, deep, coarse. "We're looking for someone." Mara didn't respond. Silence, she knew, was its own kind of weapon. The man outside swore. "Fine, you chose this." Boots stomped back, crunching heavily through snow. Then, with a violent crash, the door burst inward. 3 men stormed in, faces masked. Mara's heart pounded, but she kept the rifle trained. "One more step," she warned, "and you'll be meeting the ground faster than snow falls." The men paused. She could feel them measuring her, deciding if she was bluffing. "We're not here for you," one said. "We're tracking a child, a runaway." "You think a child wandered up this mountain alone?" Mara's voice was steady, cold as the storm behind them. The man shrugged. "Tracks lead here. A small set. And a wolf." That last word dripped with contempt, like the animal offended him personally. Mara's pulse quickened. If they searched, they'd find the crawl space. The wolf would fight and die. The girl, too. Mara stepped slightly to the left, forcing the men to reposition. "Tracks get messy in storms," she said. "You could be wrong." The leader moved forward, ignoring the barrel pointed directly at his chest. "Storm didn't start until an hour ago. The prints were fresh." His eyes were sharp, calculating. And then he added, "We know she wouldn't survive long out here without help." His glance swept the room deliberately. Mara felt exposed, like her walls were made of glass. Then, unexpectedly, the man stepped back. "Fine, we'll check the ridge." His tone shifted. Too smooth, too casual. The hairs on Mara's arms rose. He was lying. They exited the cabin, boots crunching rhythmically. Mara watched the shadows through the gap in the boards as they circled the house. Not leaving, surrounding. The leader's voice carried through the storm. "She's here. Spread out. Nobody gets past us." Mara cursed silently. She rushed to the crawl space, lifting the hatch. "We need to run," she whispered. The girl nodded, clutching the wolf's fur. They slipped out the back window into knee-deep snow. The wind swallowed their footsteps instantly. A blessing. The wolf limped but pressed on, driven by something primal, loyalty that made no sense until now. They reached the tree line when the girl tugged Mara's sleeve. "He's not bad," she said softly. "My dad, he just lost himself." Mara wanted to ask more, but a distant shout cut through the trees. Flashlights pierced the night. The hunt had begun. Mara lifted the girl into her arms. "We'll talk when we're safe," she whispered. But safety in these mountains was a fragile illusion. They moved uphill, where snow turned deeper, swallowing sound like thick velvet. The girl whispered directions without being asked, as if she instinctively knew how to navigate darkness. Mara followed them blindly, trusting the strange, quiet confidence in her trembling voice. "There's a place," she said. "A safe place. Shadow knows." The wolf limped ahead, nose brushing the ground, occasionally glancing back to ensure they followed. Something in his movements changed. Purposeful, determined. Mara wondered if they were heading toward shelter, or toward a truth she wasn't ready for. Minutes stretched into an hour. The storm thickened, hiding the world behind white curtains. Mara's lungs burned. The girl's grip around her neck tightened. Behind them, distant lights flickered between the trees, growing larger, closer. Then the wolf stopped. His ears twitched, his head turning toward a slope concealed by heavy brush. He pawed at the snow. The girl whispered, "It's here." Mara pushed aside branches and froze. A narrow gap between boulders, almost invisible. A hidden passage leading beneath the mountain, not natural, carved, old, the kind of place built for keeping secrets alive. Inside, the darkness wrapped around them, but the air was surprisingly warm. The girl slid from Mara's arms, her small hand tracing the tunnel walls with familiarity. "Mom brought me here once," she whispered. Mara's heart clenched. "Where is she now?" The girl's voice fractured. "Dad took her away. Said she was confused. Said she didn't understand what had to happen." The wolf whined softly, nudging the girl's leg. Mara placed a hand on the stone wall, feeling faint vibrations. Deep, rhythmic, something mechanical hidden far beneath them. Not natural at all. She felt the truth unraveling like a thread she didn't want to follow. The men weren't searching for a missing child. They were searching for what the child knew, or what she had witnessed. Mara knelt to meet the girl's eyes. "Lena, what's under this mountain?" The girl hesitated. Then she lifted her trembling hand and pointed deeper into the tunnel. "Something Dad found, something he shouldn't have touched." Mara breathed out slowly. The wolf pressed himself against the girl protectively. Footsteps echoed outside. The men had reached the entrance. Mara's pulse hammered. They didn't have much time. The tunnel branched into two paths, one steep and narrow, one wide and descending. The girl pointed toward the narrow one. "That way." Mara checked behind them. Shadows flickered at the entrance, voices rising. They slipped deeper into the mountain's belly. The walls pulsed faintly with an otherworldly vibration, like the mountain was alive. The wolf stopped suddenly, ears pricking sharply. A new sound filled the tunnel, a low hum, growing louder with each step. But not mechanical, not human, something older. The girl whispered, "That's why he wanted to keep me." Mara felt a coldness spread through her spine. "Why you?" Lena swallowed, eyes shining in the faint glow that now illuminated the stone. "Because I can hear it." The hum deepened, resonating through the chambers like a heartbeat. Mara turned toward the darkness ahead, where a faint blue light flickered gently, like a sleeping giant stirring. She realized the truth, with a force that stole her breath. Whatever lay hidden beneath these mountains, the girl was connected to it. And her father, fractured by fear and obsession, would burn the world down before letting her slip away again. The wolf growled softly. The men were getting closer. The mountain was waking. And Mara understood. No rescue was coming. No easy ending. Only choices. And the first choice was simple. Protect the child, no matter what hunted them. The deeper they moved through the tunnel, the stronger the blue glow became, spreading across the stone in thin, trembling veins, like the mountain itself was breathing in its sleep. Lena clung to Mara's hand, the wolf pressing against the girl's other side. Behind them, voices echoed, closer now, sharp, angry, determined. Mara tightened her grip on the rifle. She knew they were running out of time. The tunnel widened suddenly into a chamber so vast it swallowed sound. At the center stood something she couldn't comprehend. A pillar of stone split down the middle, glowing faintly, like a crack in the earth where light leaked through. The hum resonated around them, vibrating deep in the bones. Lena stepped forward first, unafraid. "It's calling," she whispered. "It always calls me." even when I try not to hear. Mara knelt beside her. Lena, what does it want? The girl shook her head. Not me. It wants to stay asleep, but Dad keeps trying to wake it. Mom tried to stop him. That's why they argued. That's why we ran. Tears bloomed in her eyes. He thinks it can fix everything, but he's wrong. It only wants to be left alone. Mara felt her heart twist. A man desperate enough to force destiny into his own shape. And now, the consequences had caught up to them all. The wolf suddenly growled, long and low. Footsteps thundered into the tunnel behind them. Flashlights cut through the dark. Mara spun around, raising the rifle. Too late. The men flooded the passageway, forming a semicircle, and then a final figure stepped through them. Lena gasped. Dad? The man's eyes found the girl instantly. Fear, relief, obsession, love, all tangled inside them. Lena, he breathed. You shouldn't be here. You'll get hurt. The wolf bared its teeth. Mara stepped between them. Stop. She's not going anywhere with you. He didn't raise a weapon. He didn't shout. He simply stared at the glowing crack behind them with hollow awe. You don't understand, he said. This mountain is dying. The thing under it is shifting. I can stop it, but only if she stays with me. Lena shook her head fiercely. You're trying to wake it up. That's why Mom left. She said it wasn't our job. His voice softened, trembling. I just wanted to protect you. Protect everyone. But I'm running out of time. The chamber trembled, stone dust falling like ash. The hum deepened. The crack widened a fraction. Mara felt the air grow warmer, almost restless. She stepped forward. Listen, whatever you were doing, it's making it worse. Your daughter is terrified of you. If you love her, let her go. Let all of this go. Lena's father stared at her for a long moment. Behind him, his men shifted nervously, fear finally overtaking obedience. And then, quietly, painfully, he lowered his head. Something inside him broke. I never meant to hurt her, he whispered, or you, or anyone. Mara lowered her rifle. The wolf relaxed, just slightly. For one breath, the chamber felt still. Then the mountain rumbled again, deeper, more urgent. The glowing crack pulsed angrily. Lena grabbed her father's sleeve. Dad, it wants us to leave. He swallowed hard, nodding. Then we leave. He turned to his men. Everyone out, now. Mara scooped Lena into her arms, the wolf limping beside them as they fled the chamber, the hum fading behind them like a sigh of relief. They burst into the open air just as the storm broke, the wind dying into a soft, exhausted snow. Behind them, the hidden passage collapsed, sealing itself under a cascade of rock and ice. The mountain quieted, as if finally allowed to rest. Lena stood between Mara and her father, holding both hands, one small bridge connecting two broken worlds. Her father whispered, voice thick with remorse, I'll surrender. I'll tell the truth. All of it. Mara nodded, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. Do that. For her. The wolf nudged Lena's leg, the girl leaning into him with a soft smile. For the first time that night, the mountain felt still. Alive. Peaceful. And as dawn painted the snow in pale gold, Mara realized something simple and staggering. Sometimes the greatest rescue is not pulling someone from danger, but pulling them back from themselves.